That's great.
Yes,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Thank you very much for accepting the invitation.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So,
Thank you too for
um,
having me.
yeah, just for the record, we want to state what the essence of the interview is for.
Okay.
We are doing a small piece on virtual learning in Nigerian universities, and
Oh, okay.
we're sure you're a lecturer in one, so that is why
Yes.
we chose you for such. And it is even more imperative that we hear more from you, being a microbiologist. And most of the reason why we're
Okay.
switching to virtual learning is because of the epidemic or pandemic, as most people call it.
Yes. The pandemic. Yes.
Yeah. So can you state your name, your portfolio in the university, just for the record?
Okay. My name is Dr. Amina Ahmed El-Imam. I lecture in the Department of Microbiology, Faculty of Life Sciences in the University of Ilorin. I teach microbiology, as you would understand, teach at undergraduate and postgraduate levels. I have a PhD in life sciences from the University of Nottingham in the United Kingdom, and I've been teaching for 10 years now. I hold a few university and departmental positions.
Do you want to state that for the record?
No, my positions in the university, I belong on a few committees. I'm an academic advisor for the 100 level, going to 200 level students. Yeah, that's it. And I teach microbiology, that's all.
What courses in microbiology do you take?
Food microbiology,
Okay.
industrial, not environmental microbiology, and amongst others, I teach undergraduate and advanced courses. That's for master's levels, and I supervise at those levels too. So basically, uh, not the bacteria and viruses that could make you ill,
Okay.
essentially the bacteria and the fungi and other microorganisms that you could use positively, either to produce maybe vaccines or produce chemicals, produce fuels, and so on. That's what I do. Microbiology is very vast, so I don't really teach medical microbiology per se.
So we'll still come back to the vaccine you mentioned, but let's go into the interview proper. So, as a
Okay.
microbiologist, and for someone who had even advanced to a PhD level, what do you think of the present COVID-19, specifically in Nigeria?
Well, I think everything that there is to say about the pandemic, the unfortunate pandemic, essentially has been said. But some things bear repeating. Some things are really important, worth mentioning and harping on. The pandemic is unfortunate because the world is grappling with chronic and persistent environmental, economic, and social issues. And now add to that a global pandemic. It's not, there is never a good time for a pandemic, but yeah, these are really nasty times. But specifically in Nigeria, I mean, everything that's is challenging in other parts of the world, we are feeling the pinch too in Nigeria. And I dare say to a greater extent, we are feeling the pinch here. So the added burden, the added socioeconomic burden of this pandemic on Nigeria and Nigerians is a lot on our physical, economic, social, and even psychological well-being. It's tough on us. The thing is that the virus is not as fatal, thank God, as maybe the Ebola virus, and it has its own long-term challenges, but it's not as terrible as HIV, for instance, or hepatitis. But still, it is a virus that literally could is in ended for so virus that yeah it has changed the world forever, and it has changed Nigeria certainly. Almost everyone I know has either lost somebody or knows somebody who has lost somebody to COVID-19. So yeah, it's not a small matter at all. I have lost a few acquaintances and a number of people I know, friends, to the pandemic. So yeah, it's a nasty situation to be in. But then again, what can we do?
Yeah,
We live, we learn, we adapt, and move on.
true. Thank you very much for that. Um, The next aspect we'll be going to is the educational system now, the resumption of physical learning. I learned from one of your students that the physical learning in University of Learning could commence, very soon, especially for the 400 level students. What do you think about such resumption? Even for that handful, yes, because compared with the whole population of the school, it's still an handful, but yet with that handful resuming physically, the spread and transmission of the virus.
I won't lie to you, I'm a bit nervous. I have my anxiety. I'm anxious because, yeah, like you rightly said, they're just one fraction of the entire population. And they do need to come in because they need to wrap up their projects, which they have started and advanced quite far. In fact, it's one of the worst things for me in my professional side, the fact that my students have started their projects, they've gone really far in their projects before the pandemic started. And if you know microbiology, it is extremely expensive to carry out research in microbiology, one of the most expensive life sciences fields. And it's very demanding. So my poor students and I have worked 10 hours a day for several weeks on end. And, everything has gone to dust now because, it's been 10 months. So yeah, they do need to come in and wrap up one way or another, and we are not prepared for it. So when they do come in, it's going to be a bit challenging because, again, the pandemic is still here with us. It hasn't gone. We haven't vaccinated a sizable number of people yet. So we still have a large population without immunity. And many people have been home. The students have been home. They didn't have to go to work because they are not working. They've been home, they've been safe, and then now they've not seen each other in a while. Are you telling me that someone you've not seen in 10 months, you'll be able to tell all 200 classmates of yours, hi, from 2 meters away? No, seriously, we are Nigerians. You know how emotional we are, how friendly, how outgoing, how gregarious we can be as a people. Are you going to tell me that you will tell that 21-year-old to not hug with them, social distancing? Each person should have 2 meters between them and the other people. We don't have these facilities. So yeah, we have the rules, we have the laws, we know the guidelines, but we don't have the facilities. It's not possible to adequately, according to the World Health Organization's recommendations, to adequately space 300 people 2 meters apart. So the universities, I know mine is, the universities are looking at phased resumptions. The exact details of the phasing and how it will be arranged when we get there is not for me to disclose, but they do recognize these challenges in our infrastructure, coupled with the necessities imposed on us by the pandemic. And rest assured, every responsible university, mine certainly, is looking into ensuring that all the students come back, wrap up their projects, finish off their exams where there are outstanding exams, with the absolute minimal risks to their lives and to the lives of the academics. Because yeah, it's one thing to talk about the students. Academics are also human beings. Academics have children. The lecturers have children at home. The lecturers have spouses. The lecturers have aged parents. So even if you get infected and you survive with a very mild or less damaging illness, you can't say the same for your parents or children if you get the disease from students and take it home to them. So yeah, all responsible managements are doing everything in their power to ensure that the phased resumption lasts only as long as it absolutely needs to and still protects the students and the staff.
Yeah, thank you very much for that explanation. Just a little bit going, I want to be more specific about microbiology. You
Okay.
mentioned the expense that come with a research and the
Oh, okay.
demands of it. Some of this, what does she called it a name? Some of this incubates. Some of
Okay.
this, some of these things they've done. What I didn't now going to start all over again from the beginning with the money. And she told me that their landlords already asked them to pay, for a new
For a new rent, yeah.
exactly. And they lived almost 3 months out of 2021. Sorry, 2020. So
2020, yeah.
is there any provision, or okay, don't let me even look at the university at large. You might not be able to speak much for them, but as like project supervisors, do you have any plan to help the students out in this regard?
You see, project supervisors are considered to be all powerful and, demigods. Maybe they are in some places, but where I work, we're all bound by the rules of the university and the Nigerian Universities Commission and so on and so on. So we don't get to say that, go and start again. Bring money and do it all over again. I don't like this one. Let's change it. Look, we are human beings. We are parents. Our children are in other universities too. So it's not like we are aliens in one place, traumatizing and terrorizing students, not being cognizant of their challenges and the peculiar challenges of the pandemic period. We are parents. We have children whose project fees we pay. So whatever affects the students affects us. And if I may be bold enough to say, we even pay for much of the project research that the students do, our students that we're not related to. I speak for many lecturers here when I say that if it affects the students' projects, it has affected our pockets. I know this with 100% certainty because we put in our personal funds, equipment, resources into their projects. And my students, at least, and my colleague students will not deny that. So it's a terrible situation for them, but for us, it is the same. So we will work out an agreement or an arrangement that will ensure that they get a project that they will be proud of. You don't want to finish university having invested so much time, energy, and money and not have data that you can be proud of. 10 years down the line, you want to be able to hold your project and say, oh, I did a good job. I'm proud of my work. Or you don't want to finish a project and you can't publish it. For myself, every research I do, there should be the potential for publishing it. I mean, what's the point of working if you can't share your findings with your colleagues? So the students should know, their supervisors will find a middle ground that works for everybody. We are human. We know what's going on.
No problem. I will surely relate that to the student that told me about that as part of our worries. Now, virtual learning, has been much of a thing around globally. I myself did some
Okay.
courses via Skype and the rest. Uh, Bringing it now
Okay.
to Nigerian education, especially both undergraduate and postgraduate alike, what do you have to say about it? Even if there is no pandemic, can this virtual learning, still be implemented?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Virtual learning is actually the future of learning, to be honest. I'm privileged and lucky to have studied in the United Kingdom for my PhD. And I saw that even when there was no pandemic, there were many advantages to having these Moodle classes and so on, where students can online have access to notes, do their assignments, and hand in assignments, term papers, and so on. Now, that was complementing physical classes at the time, but now it has completely replaced physical classes in many universities. Now, the thing is not whether or not it is good. Online classes, virtual learning is very good. It's undisputable. It's indisputable. I run virtual learning classes in my consultancy where I teach a lot of things. That's a Carnation Consult.
Yeah, I saw
We
it.
teach people even writing. I beg your pardon?
Yeah, I said I saw it. The
Oh, thank you.
username you logged in with.
Yes, yes. So we teach even writing that you would think is a completely physical process. We've been successfully able to run writing classes without one-on-one interaction. And this has absolutely convinced me that online learning is here to stay long after the pandemic. The beauty of online learning is that you can live outside your immediate environment. I'm a Nigerian. Maybe I'm stuck in a rural area in Nigeria, but luckily I have internet access. I can take classes in Harvard. I can take classes in China. So you're not limited by geography anymore. All you need is a functional device and access to the internet, and you have the opportunity to literally learn from the best minds in the world. Online learning, virtual learning is going nowhere. It's up to us as a people, as a country, as educators to key into it, learn how to use it, maximize the potential that's abound in virtual learning. And all the shortcomings of virtual learning that we have heard, oh, it is impersonal, oh, network connectivity is poor, what if they cannot afford phones? They are legitimate problems. These are legitimate issues. But the question remains simple. Are you telling me physical classes do not have their challenges?
Sure.
Because I could give you 10 off the top of my head, starting with infrastructure. Almost every federal university I know has infrastructure deficit. Would we be thinking about 2,000-seater theaters if we were doing online classes? Do you understand? So while our infrastructure has not grown to accommodate our student population, online classes could just be the savior we need. I don't know if you see how I'm coming. Then with the pandemic, risk of transmission with online classes is 0.00. There is no strategy in the world, no educational strategy in the world, not the use of PPE, full regalia, will protect you to the level of 0.00 transmission. And for me personally, when you look at the cost of rent, the cost of transportation, the hassle on the students and the lecturers, online learning is actually great. There are challenges. These are teething problems that should be resolved with time.
We'll still come to the challenges very much later. It's part of the line of question. But now let's bring it to your school and your department now. So far, so good that you've started this virtual learning. Have you been able to take some courses? If yes, how has it been?
I have taken online classes. It's been interesting because for many students, that was their first interaction with online learning. So they didn't know what to do, what buttons to click, and so on and so on. So all you need to do was be patient with them. They will figure it out. I mean, this generation was born with a phone in their hands. They know it is not a big deal, you know? So wait a bit, let them figure it out, guide them where you can, and so on. The only challenge is, and I must be honest, the University of Ilorin has done fantastically well with her online classes. And it is a rare event to see students praising a school. And I have seen a lot of praise from our students who have been recipients of online classes say it has been going well. Now, for the lecturers, I've heard many lecturers praise the classes and go, I didn't know it would be that nice. People asked questions, I could hear them, I could answer them. I didn't, but that stupid child was telling me that it will not be nice. That boy was trying to discourage me the other day. I actually enjoyed it. I've heard conversations where my colleague was teasing me about his child or joking about his child, telling him, Daddy, you will not like it. So we cracked jokes like that. But we've all come to agree that it's a useful platform, and we've been doing well. Some students get really funny where they go, I like this lecturer, while you are teaching. Or they could go, one could say, madam, you are fine. Oh, We see these things. It's not new. We see it in real life. At least it's even less intrusive and less invasive when it's online. So there's nothing fantastic about it that makes, because it has proven many people wrong. People thought it would fail. It's been going well. My colleagues have good things to say about it. My students so far have enjoyed
it. I was hoping to skip this question because of some other answers you've given, but I still want to hack so that I can have a more concrete and direct answer. Psychologically speaking, when you pick your marker or you pick your chalk and you move to classes to take lectures, there's this psychological preparedness that you have.
Okay.
You're standing in front of students, maybe probably whatever means you're trying to teach them with, you're ready. Do you still have that motivation or that muse to go ahead and take classes now that it's virtual? Do we still have such?
Okay, I get your point. Like, do you feel like you're in the frame of mind to teach? Do you feel like you're teaching when you're not holding a marker and standing in front of a class? I get your point, but let me also remind you that it's been said over and again that the illiterate of this century will not be that person who cannot read or write. It's the person who cannot learn something, unlearn it, and relearn. None of us were born with markers in our hands. We picked them up one day. And luckily for us, we've been using the internet for a decade plus, if not 2 decades, most academics. So there's nothing new in using Zoom to teach because we've communicated on Zoom with our students before. if you come from a really savvy organization like I do, we have had access to Wi-Fi for years. So some of our postgraduate students even have meetings with us on Zoom anyway. So it's, to me, honestly, it's something that we just keyed into. It was seamless, more or less. There are challenges, but it's been more successful than it's been unsuccessful. I feel like a teacher the moment I flip open my laptop, open Zoom, and I say, good morning, everybody. And you start hearing, oh, good morning, ma'am, good morning, ma'am. The class has begun. So life is about adapting, adapt or die. And lecturers are really good at adaptation.
Thank you very much for that concrete answer.
Thank
I asked this from the students, and I feel like I should ask you too. You've spoken
you. Okay.
for the lecturer's aspect. I want you to speak, you know, at least from your deductions, for the student. You know, even me that I'm having this interview with you, if I was having it at work, I know I'll be better ready to ask some questions, though I'm still
Okay.
asking the same question. Do the same happen with the students? You know, some of them might be lying down on their beds, some might be sitting, some might even be eating while having those classes. Do they still have the same level of assimilation or more? What can you say about
I
that
think
based
that
on the feedback?
remains to be seen. I think it's a bit premature for me to make any comments on that, because until the results of assessments come in, we can't say empirically whether or not online learning has been able to measure up to physical learning. In my opinion, what makes you a great lecturer is to ensure that your message was received. Your students have learned. Now, whether you're shouting from the top of a mountain, whether you just email them notes, whether it's by text message and voice notes, whether it's by Zoom, regardless of the channel of instruction, regardless of your medium of instruction, any good lecturer should ensure that learning has occurred. Now, how do students learn? Students learn in various ways. Some are better suited for online classes. Did you know that? Some students have been underperforming for the past 3 years that they've been in school because they're in physical classes. Students with anxiety or other social disorders who don't like interactions, loud classes, heat and cramped spaces, they will excel in online classes. Now, for the majority who might be finding online classes maybe new, who might be finding it difficult to adapt, they will also adapt with time because, again, learn, unlearn some things, relearn. They will learn and relearn. Look, education is a choice. You have to make a choice to learn. You have to want to learn. So if you're lying on your bed, as long as you can hear me and your mind is focused on what I am teaching, I even think it's a better way to learn than to be seated in a cramped stool with hundreds of other students. So until the results come in, we cannot say with any certainty how this medium, how this channel impacts learning in students. But for me, I'm positive that it will be good.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. I would conduct another research on the so that we can have the empirical data. Um, yes, the next aspect is it's really nice that I'm having this conversation with a scientist. The
Okay.
scientific aspect of your teaching, the practical
Okay.
aspect, what's the plan about it? Especially with the phase resumption that you mentioned earlier on.
I must say, honestly, it's not going to be easy. I won't lie to you because microbiology in an ideal environment is supposed to be more practical than theoretical. When I went to university some 20 odd years ago, when I learned microbiology in Ahmadu Bello University in Zaria, we had practicals every single day, every work day. Sometimes we had equal hours of practical and theory. Yes, things have changed in the decades since. Funding for education has reduced, the quality and standards have declined. But there is no way you will not miss out if you are not holding your Petri dish. There is something we call a Petri dish. You know, it's a plate like this. where you expect that there is a pattern, a way that you know, introduce microorganisms into their food. It's called culturing. We cannot culture by Zoom. We cannot teach you polymerase chain reaction by Zoom. You cannot carry out fermentations on Zoom or Teams or Google Classrooms. But there is the next best thing, alternatives to practicals. Again, nobody chose this. This pandemic, this situation chose us. And rather than crying over spilled milk, we are in it. Let's just adapt. Let's move on. The world is not waiting for us. So neither the students nor their lecturers should, you know, be whining about it. Let's just adapt. So we will find the next best thing, even if it means I will literally take a piece of paper and a biro and be streaking for my students. But on a serious note, on a more serious note, the universities are seriously considering how to ensure that practical lessons in life sciences, like microbiology and others, are structured with minimal contacts and risk to life for the practical staff and the science technology staff and the students. But I'm not speaking for management. Their plans will be made known when we get to that bridge. But for now, we are still on the lectures because we have to give the notes, teach, then we start to do the practicals. For now, I'm not sure if there is any practicals going on, but we will cross that bridge and we will do a great job at it. Nigerian academics, Nigerian universities are the masters and mistresses of making the best out of almost nothing. We teach world-class graduates who go abroad and thrive. Ah, my brother, you're laughing. Look at you. You're a fantastic interviewer. Was your education the best? No, we had challenges, but you made the best out of it. We made the best out of everything before now. We will do it again as we always have.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the answer and thank you for the compliment.
My pleasure.
Apart from the Wi-Fi, because they told me about the Wi-Fi
Okay.
and all, in support for the lecturers, what has the university done? Is there any other incentive? Probably if the Wi-Fi is down, I remember there was a lecturer from English that made mention of downtime. No, from educational
Okay.
technology that made mention of downtime with the bandwidth. So sometimes you might be here now and the bandwidth will be down. Sorry, and the bandwidth will be down. What is there incentive from the university, or if there is a way you find solution to it, how do you go about it?
Well, to be honest, like I mentioned earlier, the university I work for has a large internet penetration campus. So almost all lecturers, if I don't want to be, you know, if I'm hedging a bit here, nearly all lecturers have access, easy access to the internet. Okay. Now the point is this: what happens if there is reception challenge? What happens when power fails? It's Nigeria. Power will fail during lectures. I don't know if I'm, no, the students expect it, the lecturers expect it, and the university expects it. So we have put that into consideration, speaking for myself and my colleagues, my peers. When power fails, we switch to our phones. We use our personal data. It's no big deal. Lecturers sacrifice for students. It's the job we chose. It's the life we chose. It's what we want to do. So if the university's Wi-Fi is not available, you immediately switch onto your personal data and the students might not even notice anything. You carry on until the class is over. It's what we've always done. It's nothing new. Now, if you're lucky, maybe there's another section of the university where they have uninterrupted power. You move there. You just take permission from your students, run like crazy to the place, and life goes on.
Cool.
It's the incentive. I think they don't need to incentivize us to do our jobs. If they've told us to teach online, we teach online. We've been teaching without even salaries for months. We are lecturers that were not paid for several months. Some people have not been paid for 10 months and they're teaching. So what is a few gigs of our own personal data to help graduate the next set that will make Nigeria great? We are used to it.
Just a little bit into the the pragmatics of the online classes now.
Okay.
What are certain things that you've done at least to maintain a level of decorum, discipline? You were talking of the other time when a student could even like give a compliment, while though not necessarily rude, but not
It's
welcome as of
inappropriate.
that time. That's not exactly not even the right time for such. So what do you do to minimize that, even though it
We just
cannot be
hope for the
totally?
best, to be honest. There's nothing you can do on Zoom or Teams or Classroom to say, I will send you out if you continue to disrupt my class. You can't do that. So literally, you just hope for the best. You can mute the whole class and teach, but again, you have to have interaction. If you teach like I do, you want the students to engage. You want the students to ask questions. You want them to challenge you. So sometimes you have to unmute and go, okay, so far, what have you learned? If you have children, pupils who are, who choose to be inappropriate at that time, you take it in your stride. Students are majorly good, but as you would expect in any group, there will be the students who will try to distract you or be inappropriate. You take it in your stride. It's our life. We are used to it. And we move on. If the disruption is getting too much, you find a way to either remove them and not let them in again. But luckily for me, I've never had those kind of problems, even in physical classes.
I think I can guarantee that I've had some interaction with your students and they sounded, well trained.
My students, oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I had some interaction with some of them. But fine. Now let's go to, you've talked very much on the challenges, so I don't even feel like asking you about the challenges. Now let's talk of the vaccines. As someone who has been trained and can say a few things about vaccines, and till now in Nigeria, I'm talking as a journalist now, we've not had a
Okay.
concrete vaccination. If there had been any vaccination, it surely would have been outside, or probably possibly outside, because we've not heard of any in Nigeria here. Or so what about the vaccines? Is it possible to get vaccine for at least for such a virus that is easily transmitted?
You mean, is it possible to get a vaccine for the virus
No, it's possible to
against
get vaccine.
COVID-19?
Yes, for this COVID-19, is
Yes,
it
there
possible?
are vaccines already. They've made vaccines already. There's the Pfizer vaccine, there's the Moderna vaccine, among many others. There are vaccines that have even been shown. Early results have shown that they protect against the most dangerous attacks. They make people immune to either catching the disease. They protect one from catching the disease, or even if you come down with the disease, your symptoms are very mild. You never have to get onto maybe ventilators or severe pulmonary problems. So there are vaccines that have shown different levels of immunogenicity, different levels of protection, different levels of usefulness. There are vaccines already. All we are waiting for is to get them in Nigeria. And again, because the vaccines go where the money is, the vaccines go where the power is, because it takes a lot of money to make vaccines. And Nigeria did not contribute $1 to that, as far as I know. So you won't expect to get the vaccines now. The countries that spend millions and billions of dollars will get the vaccines. So any crumbs that fall off their table, we are hoping it will get to us. Or if some diplomatic luck makes it possible to get some for the less developed and middle and low income countries, then we'll get some. But without a doubt, some should start coming into Nigeria later this year or next year. Until then, all we have to do is keep ourselves safe and hope for the best. I don't know. We will get the vaccines. We will get there, but it might be more challenging because we don't have the foundation. We don't have the grounds to build that high level research on. Vaccine production is about the highest level of biological research. It doesn't get much more complicated, you than that. So if but the one thing I know for a fact is that Nigeria can do it. We produce vaccines before, some of the best the world has ever seen. I think for the yellow fever virus, yeah. So there is absolutely nothing in vaccine manufacture that we don't have. Nigeria is inundated with minds. We are blessed with people who can squeeze water out of a rock. So it's not impossible to, do it. I just hope the money actually goes to the research, the researchers get funded, equipment get purchased, the right people get the funds, and the money doesn't, the money stays and gets used. It can be done. And there is nothing that will help us as much as having our own, maybe local vaccine that targets our own local variants of the virus, our own strains that are in circulation, the new mutants that targets our own people, because I mean, even humans are not one monolithic entity, I mean, and besides, buy Nigeria to grow the Naira, eh? On a serious note, yeah, we can do it, and I hope we do. Much of the things you see abroad, much of the developments that you encounter abroad, dollar for dollar, we could achieve the same thing in Nigeria 3 times over. I'm saying this with all sense of humility that if we are getting 10% of the funding grants that they get in the best universities in the world, 10%, we'll be more productive. Yeah, we'll be more productive. The minds are there. But if you have to buy your own biro all the way to your own everything, there's only so much you can achieve. But if we get a bottomless pit of money that is invested into research abroad, I mean, it goes without saying that to whom much is given, much is expected. And, much is being obtained from us, even though we get much less than even the Nigerian realities mean we should get. But yeah, the minds are there, that's for sure.
Yeah, there was a point you said humans are not monoliths. We vary. I just want to get quick points on that and on this one so that we journalists have been thinking much about. One is these vaccines that are coming in, since they are made somewhere else with different temperatures, different, human factors, will they work for us? That's the very first one. The second is once those vaccines come into the country, obviously there will be priorities.
Okay.
And obviously they will be coming, they will not have the total number of individuals in Nigeria. So I want you to speak on the priority and the variation of this vaccine.
You see, the thing is that vaccine production is an advanced science. Whatever the genetic difference between maybe Africans and Westerners will have been included at the design stage that they elicit amongst, the citizens of the originating country of the vaccine. And I would assume that countries with such technological advancements to produce a vaccine will be able to immediately modify their vaccines to cater for the genetic variations across the globe. And they're already doing that in terms of capturing new variants and mutants of the COVID-19 virus, where new batches of the vaccine are now being designed to also be sensitive to mutants that have been thoroughly studied and worked on. So yeah, the vaccines, when they come, we will know if they work for us. But usually it's not a problem. If it works for a Brit, it should work for a Nigerian. But again, until you see and test in the field, the human vaccination process is the only certain way of knowing if it will work or not. Then the other thing you said, priorities. How do we prioritize the disbursement of the vaccines? Every nation has its goals. When you look at the trend of deaths, for instance, how do you know the most at-risk population? That's where you focus your energies on. If in Nigeria, because in Italy at one point, it was targeting only the elderly, killing the elderly. So definitely that's the most at-risk group, and they will be targeted for speedy vaccinations once the vaccines become available. Outbreak and all that. So they would figure out the priority groups. It could be the elderly, it could be children, it could be pregnant women. I don't know. The vaccines were not tested on pregnant women, so I don't know. But the point is they will focus on the priority groups, and they should focus on them and disburse accordingly. So until we get the vaccines, when we get the vaccines, let's feel masks are not easy. And I know I'm speaking from a position of privilege because as a microbiologist, I'm used to masks. So it is uncomfortable for those who are not familiar with it, but please, so is death. Death is a painful process, as I heard.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mrs. El-Imam. We really appreciate the time, the
My pleasure.
effort.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you for having me too.